Thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm Mike Marin with Cloud IBR. Just want to go over a little housekeeping before I do introductions and get this kicked off. So everyone is muted upon entry, so you don't have to worry about background noise. We are also going to be doing a live demo, and what we ask from each participant, if there's any questions that may come up, please put them in the box. We're going to try and answer them all today. If not, we will be sure to get back to everyone. So please, we really want a lively interaction, so any questions will be permitted. So we also stick around till the end. One of the major things, we have a promo code for today. This will give you an opportunity to actually work with Cloud IBR, Veeam, and the team and start your DR testing. I think everybody has the 27 minutes. It'll be well worthwhile. Again, for today's agenda, we got Greg Tellone, who's the CEO of Cloud IBR, and Danny Allan, Chief Technology of Veeam. Danny and Greg, turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Excellent. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm very passionate about data protection, backup, but even more passionate than that, I'm passionate about recovery. It's very, very exciting. And Greg, it's great to be with you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks a lot, Danny. I'm excited to be here with you.
Greg, I know that we have a lot to cover here, and we're going to talk about what you've been doing in this space, but just very quickly, maybe you can share with the audience, how long have you been doing backup and data protection?
Sure. So professionally, I started when I was 19 years old. As a hobby, it was actually high school. I was about 15. My first hard drive crashed. I lost a bunch of game scores and homework and whatnot. So I went to a swap meet. I bought a used tape drive and a copy of ArcServe for tape backup, and that was back in the late 80s or late 80s, and started backing up my home office or my home lab. It was a NetWare Novell NetWare 2.12 network, and I actually had a 10 megabit laser Ethernet beam on my roof as well that pointed to a buddy's house around the corner, and I was doing offsite backup in the 80s over laser.
Well, that is a great story. I have not been in the backup space as long as that, but I have a story actually from the 90s. It was in my first IT job. I was working at a college, and we were doing upgrades of the faculty and administration, their systems. And we did an upgrade of one of the faculty members, and it was my fault, but we lost from her system, we lost about 7 years of data that she had been researching. And what I learned from that is, you know what? Backups matter, and even more than that, recovery matters. So, I've spent the last 7 years now at Veeam, and we've been very much focused on this. And one of the big things that we do is we do research into this space specifically. And so on the next slide, I just wanted to share with the audience some of that research that we have done. Early in 2023, we actually did research of 4,200 organizations. This was across the market, some enterprise, some mid-market, some small, medium business, but very, very broad segment, not just, of course, Veeam customers. And I start with the question that I ask everyone, which is how frequently are you testing your data protection principles? And you'll see there on the left-hand side, you get all kinds of different answers from every 2 to 3 years, which is almost never, to very frequently. And the average of all of those is 5 months. If you take all of the data and you ask people how frequently you're testing it, the answer to that is 5 months. And the challenge with this, of course, is because it's not about technology, it's about the process. And what we really need to be doing is making sure that we are frequently ensuring recovery, so you don't do what I did, which is delete someone's data and they can't get it back. And so if 5 months is the average, we then went to those same 4,200 customers and we said, okay, how are you testing it? And I would say, in the US, 18 is the age of adulthood, and 18% of the respondents got it right, and the other 82% got it wrong. So 30% of them said they were manually configuring it. This is effectively going and having the potential to do mistakes. So they were doing the backup, but of course it was completely manual. There was no process associated with it. And you might think 52% is good that they're using scripts, but the problem with a script, I know this from working with our customers all the time, the problem with that 52%, that script is valid the day after you wrote it, but a day later there's drift, there's configuration change, it's no longer accurate. And so when you go to recover the data, it's not right. And so that 18% really is those organizations that are doing this effectively. Does that consistent with what you're seeing in the industry?
Yeah, doing this professionally for 3 decades now, 18%. I was actually shocked that it was that high. What I've seen from customers, from prospects that we've dealt with over the past several decades is that the 18% is generally going to be the mid-sized enterprises and above, the ones who have budget for a disaster recovery site, the equipment at the site, the expertise to set up all the DR, be able to manage this entire recovery infrastructure and orchestrate it. So our mission statement with Cloud Instant Backup Recovery is to help the rest of the world, the small and mid-sized firms, join that 18% and become part of the 18%ers.
Well, I love that mission because it is hard, and it's not just technology. Everyone just assumes that this is technology. It actually takes real expertise, and it can be complex, as you know, to test the recovery, and not only complex, but probably expensive as well.
Yeah, the 2 biggest factors, and I'll start with a story of actually one of our Cloud IBR customers. I think this company, Boreal Capital Management, a great guy that I've met there, Carlos Miranda, is the director of IT. And I think he kind of embodies the typical small business that I've known over the past several decades, in that they have the IT expertise to keep production up and running. They have the smarts to do the backup. So they're using Veeam, they're doing their backups. They even have offsite backups in place. But when it comes to performing disaster recovery, that's a whole nother level of expertise that's very time consuming and expensive. So you have to get an offsite DR site, you need to get hardware there. All of the costs that are associated with DR are what prevent most small businesses from doing it. Even working with DRaaS providers, that's a great way to lower the cost of entry by outsourcing it to someone who has that facility. But even that is often out of reach of the small businesses.
And Greg, you touched on something there that I think is important for the audience to understand. In the backup space, there's this focus on what they call the 3-2-1 rule, which is 3 copies of your data, 2 different media types, because of course, if a media system gets corrupted, it can wipe out everything, with 1 off-site. And actually that's been expanded in recent years to not only 1 off-site, but make sure that 1 copy is immutable. That's often because of ransomware and malware attacks, and 0. So 3-2-1-1-0, and the 0 is 0 errors. And that really is driven by, are you testing it? Are you making that copy off-site? Are you putting it on a different media type? And are you testing it? And the biggest failing that I see in the industry, and we have a SWAT team internally at Veeam that helps customers when they get hit by ransomware, or they get hit by these outages that occur, is that they haven't been testing it. They're doing the right things in that they're capturing the backup, but they're not moving 1 copy off-site. They're not actually testing it on a regular basis. And so I love it that the mission at Cloud Instant Backup Recovery is to focus on that.
Yep. So bringing the story of Carlos back into the mix, he when I first met him earlier this year, he was running Veeam version 9. He was backing up to a Synology drive, and the Synology was syncing off to Backblaze offsite storage, object storage. So he had good data protection in place, but their RTO was at 2 weeks, and that was a pretty conservative number, where basically if they had a physical disaster that knocked out their entire facility, they would need to order all new equipment, ship it to somewhere, figure out where that equipment should go, set it up, physically set it up, cable it, install ESXi, install Veeam. And because they were using the Synology to sync off-site, they then also needed to procure an actual Synology device, because only Synology could sync that data back. So they had between supply chain and costs and time, 2 weeks was pretty aggressive, and they knew that wasn't good, and they wanted to do better. But again, anytime they looked at any other services out there, it was always outside of their budget. So when we met Carlos, we basically introduced him to Cloud IBR. He called us up, said, "How do I get signed up with this?" He started asking questions right away. Here's a quick overview of how how the service works, or what it looks like, where we basically 100% orchestrate, similar to what VRO does. And one of the cool stories from Veeam in 2023 was one of the guys, Marty Williams, he's an SC at Veeam, one of the guys I call part of the Veeam Rockstar crew. he started dubbing this Cloud IBR as VRO Lite. And VRO is, a tremendous product from Veeam Recovery Orchestrator. And it is perfect for the mid-sized enterprise and above who has the budget for that Site B, that has the equipment, has the expertise, and VRO completely orchestrates it. So what we did was we built, as Marty coined it, VRO Lite, is we built this automated solution that will build an entire infrastructure for you offsite, all automated. So this next slide, to wrap up the story with Carlos. So he signed up and he basically upgraded to Veeam 12. He started doing offsite backups direct to object storage with his Veeam 12. He still does his local to Synology. And within 27 minutes of signing up and entering the information, that's how long the onboarding takes for Cloud IBR, he was running disaster recovery in one click. And he took his 2-week RTO from 2 weeks down to 5 hours, which, I mean, that's incredible. That's a totally different, realm. And he did it for $149 a month. That's also super affordable for pretty much any small business. So
yeah, so you've taken out the complexity of it, you've taken out the cost of it, and you made it really easy. Now I'm interested, Greg, though, in the networking of this. Typically when I associate, I have something on premises and then something that is in the cloud, that's complex to wire up. Talk to me about the networking aspect of those environments.
Sure. So the networking, which I'll bring up on the next slide, and then we'll get into the live demo. And here's one quick quote from Carlos. They had a ransomware incident with one of their MSP partners, and he was able to recover easily with Cloud IBR, hit his RTO, and he's just a big fan. We love love working with him. And we have a lot of clients just like Carlos. There's businesses of all different sizes that we work with. On the networking side, to get to your question, so what we do is we build out in the PhoenixNAP bare metal cloud, we build out an entire infrastructure for you with the click of a button. And that's kind of what we're going to demo. We're going to walk through what the onboarding looks like and how the whole process works. But essentially, our application reaches out to the PhoenixNAP bare metal cloud. It provisions X number of ESXi hosts. I'll cover how you determine how many you get. We roll out a Windows server, install Veeam, we add your repository to it, whether it's Backblaze or Wasabi. We rescan the bucket, decrypt your backups, and immediately begin recovering all of those servers. We also build out a Linux firewall with all your VLANs, your default gateways. It has OpenVPN for all your end users to connect. And there's 25 gigabit connectivity between all the hosts. So from a networking side, it's all provisioned, all automatically through a simple onboarding process.
Well, I love the fact that you're running on these bare metal servers because you're you are guaranteeing the performance as well. When you do this instant recovery, you're getting the speed that you need as well for that environment.
Yeah, we've actually had a lot of small businesses who, after they've done their recovery test, say, wow, that runs better than it does in our building. So that's been a great experience for them. So I'll dive in, I'll give you a walkthrough. So very simply, a customer signs up and they go through these tabs on the left side. So first one is S3 repositories. They add in, you can see I have my Wasabi and Backblaze repositories here. When they click add, they pick which one they want. Backblaze or Wasabi here, and it gives you the directions on how to onboard that bucket into our product. You fill out a few forms down the bottom and click save, and you're done with that screen. The PhoenixNAP BMC, we automatically generate an account for you in their BMC cloud. That's how we reach out and do the automation for you. And then you add in how much storage you want, how much RAM you need. The RAM this will dictate how many ESX hosts you get. So from 64 gigs up to 4 terabytes are the options right now. If you want to go over 4 terabytes, we have custom pricing for that. And you basically click save for those. You enter in your Veeam encryption key. You can enter as many as you have. Network information, this is another answer, more details on the question you asked. So they basically add gateway. They enter in the VLAN, the IP address, the gateway itself, the mask. They click save. It populates this entire list down here. They can add port mappings where they put in any external ports that they want open to the entire world, mail, 25, web servers, etc. And you just add them and click save, as many as you need. Once you finish that, you do whitelist, and the whitelist, this is going to be for the DR staff, where they basically, they enter their home WAN IP, their corporate WAN IP, so that they can take ownership of and fully manage the physical infrastructure. Because what's really cool is this isn't a multi-tenant type situation. This is a dedicated platform that when you click the recovery button, these are servers that are provisioned just for you. So VPN, they come in here and they have two types of users I'll get into in a moment, DR test users and end users. You can see all my buddies, Allan, Larry, Bill and Melinda up there with me. And basically what we do is you add in these users just by entering their email address, you click save, then you come over to recoveries, and this is how you start a recovery. So you're done. That was the 27 minutes is what we're seeing as average, is that whole process right there. From sign up to ready to click start recovery, you're done. Okay, click start recovery, you get a few options. They do primarily the same thing. So as I mentioned before, just by scrolling down to the bottom and clicking initiate recovery, you're done. It will start the recovery process immediately. And our software will reach out to the bare metal cloud, provision the ESXi and Windows servers, build the Linux host, do all that great stuff that I mentioned. And basically the difference here is the auto shutdown. As soon as that test completes, it's going to just tear the entire environment down and stop the test. Send you a report showing you the success or any items you might need to remediate with either your backups or your production environment. The manual shutdown, that will leave the environment up and running until you manually shut it down. And when I pick that option, you'll see a new option show up here, email end users. So by default, the DR staff will all get an encrypted email with their VPN credentials. They can log in, test the software. If they click the email end users, then everyone gets that email so that they can participate in the test. And then disaster recovery, that's for a real disaster failover. And basically, we leave it up and running for as long as you need. And we tell you, once we hand this over to you, log in, change all the credentials that we automatically created for you. And let me show you what a recovery looks like. So let me ask you, Danny, based on, you've been in DR for quite a while as well, how simple does it look to you?
Well, knowing how complex it is for organizations, the words I use, brilliantly simplistic and very affordable too. If you think about the complexity typically that I see our customers going through trying to make all of this happen, there's hardware procurement and there's process change and all of that. You've just taken something that for most organizations is months of effort and made it, in this case, it sounds like 27 minutes, but I haven't yet to see something that is as brilliantly simple as this.
Yeah, excellent, thank you. So what this looks like from a recovery standpoint is once you initiate the recovery, you'll see this screen start populating. Here's one of my demo environments. You can see I have the 3 servers that were recovered, the IP addresses internally. This is the host it's on, all the different information about the servers we recovered. And you can expand down these sections up here. You can see my environment takes 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 19 seconds to recover. There's only a couple terabytes in there. The first 45 minutes to an hour is the provisioning process where we stand up all the equipment, and then we begin the actual restores. Restores we see take basically about 80 to 85 megabytes per second, which is about 600 to 700 megabits per second. So we see really fast throughput, and that's per stream that we see. So for instance, if you have 10 1 terabyte servers, we'll see that restore a lot faster than if you had 1 10 terabyte server. And that's because Veeam is taking advantage of multiple streams and can be sending those backups, faster. So even if you have a large server, as long as the data is spread across a bunch of volumes on that server, you'll get the benefit of that multi-stream recovery. As you scroll
within your customer base, Greg, I'm just curious, how many of your customers are using multiple volumes within their servers? Is that something that you see frequently?
We do actually. The old school mentality was just keep growing the disk as big as you can. But I've seen a lot of businesses over the past few years who've seen that recovery is faster with smaller volumes. And actually, just someone we spoke to this week said that they don't let their volumes go above 2 terabytes each, and they'll just keep adding more volumes to the server for this exact purpose. And also, they might want to restore certain volumes before others. So yeah, we're starting over the past year or so, starting to see more of that.
Well, that's a type of expertise too that is very valuable for the industry, because I agree with you. It used to be people would just get their disks would get larger and larger, but educating the customers on the value of these models, these new opportunities that you have, is also super valuable, because again, especially in the small and medium business, they don't know those things. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, great. So as you go through, you see all the recovery credentials that were created, all of the admins, the DR admins will have access to these. They'll also, every end user or DR test user will get that encrypted email with their credentials for the VPN. Here you can see the physical servers that we provisioned. So you have in this environment, we have a single ESXi host, the single Windows server for Veeam. We have the Linux firewall that we built that has all the routing, the VLANs, the default gateways, the OpenVPN, all that great stuff. Recovery information, network information. This is all of the ports you entered, the subnet you've been assigned, all your ports, what it's assigned to. So for instance, this is a web server. I can go to my DNS, my public DNS, update the DNS record to point to this IP address. And if there were any servers skipped, they would be shown here. The reason there would be skipped servers is if they're older than 7 days, that's the default for a recovery. And you can change that up to 30 days. That if a server hasn't been backed up in over a week, you probably don't need it in a disaster, so we exclude it by default. And that's how simple it is. That's the whole onboarding and recovery process. Well, one thing I'll cover in addition is the partner portal. So we are 100% partner ready and reseller ready. And essentially, when you go to our website, you see the partner application process. You sign up. Once you're approved, you'll get this extra tab opened up at the top, the partner portal. And basically what they do is they come in here, they click on send proposal, they fill out their customer information, they pick the level they want to sell them, and they click send invitation at the bottom. Their customer will get an email from them with that link to sign up. And when the customer signs up, it'll charge the reseller on their credit card, or the MSP will charge them, so that the MSP gets to continue to own that relationship. And now they can add on the value services of helping them on board, because most, as simple as this is, as brilliantly simplistic as it is, you still need some level of IT knowledge, gateways, et cetera. So that's where the MSPs, who are servicing the companies who have zero, IT in-house, they can come in here, send an invite to their customer. They own the relationship, they own the billing, and up here on the top right, there's the company switcher, where they can select customer A, customer B, and they're basically now logged in as that customer, and they can go through the onboarding process, fill out all the forms for them, click recover, and it's that easy.
That's really impressive, because while we're going towards an industry that is as a service, I still believe very passionately in the value of managed service providers that own the relationship, and these types of concepts like you're going through there, network ranges, for example. Customers, even things like that, they may not have a full understanding, but your managed service provider is going to understand, what are the network ranges, who are the users, the authenticated users that need the access, and they can help in that. We're 100% channel company too here at Veeam, so I like seeing that option from Cloud IBR. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And as leads come in, and there have been customers who reach out who need assistance, and we refer them out to some of our MSP network to handle that account and to onboard them, help them do recoveries. The part that is simple enough for any end user to do is click the recovery button, so they can log in and launch a recovery at any time. But for the onboarding part and then testing it, that's where the MSPs really play a big role. So price-wise, I'll go over. We have right now 3 different price points for silver, gold, and platinum. This line right here is the main first line of the difference, and it's how much RAM you get at time of recovery. For 90% of small businesses, the silver has been, plenty. And then as we get into the more mid-sized firms who have multiple ESX hosts and need terabytes of RAM, that's where the 2 and 4 terabyte options come up. And if you need more than 4, there's a link here to request more and get a custom price. And one of our commonly asked questions is, what other costs are there? What are the gotchas? And there is one other cost, and that is the hourly usage fee for the physical equipment that you run at the Phoenix Bare Metal Cloud. And here's an example of my monthly bill for my demo environment. 81 cents to run a DR test for about an hour and a half test. So for less than a macchiato at Starbucks every day, you can have a full-blown DR test and be able to run monthly DR testing.
Yeah, so when we're seeing averages of 5 months between tests, you're not only giving 27 minutes to set it up and get it going, but 81 cents to actually run that test for the customer. So that's impressive. And this is the difference, Greg, is that correct, between the auto test versus the manual versus the full DR? It's how long it's running will impact that 81 cents. Is that a right way of thinking about it?
And how much data you're recovering, so how long the restore takes. So the automatic test is going to take as long as it takes for the data to be restored and then automatically shut down. The manual test is still going to take that same amount of time, but now it's going to remain powered on for you to log in remotely, check it out, make sure everything's working, all your servers are started, are you going to have end users involved, etc. That 81 cents is for the typical silver level customer who has the smallest environment. We've seen that go up to, as high as $10 to $12 an hour for the largest customers, but for most of our silver customers, it's between 75 cents and about $2, $3 an hour. So if your average test takes 2 to 4 or 5 hours a month, that's the only additional fee on top of the subscription. And you control that, by the way, on the frequency. So you can do daily, you can do no automatic testing, daily, weekly, or monthly.
So not only brilliantly simple, but incredibly affordable as well for the customers, what you've built.
Yeah, and it's 81 cents that they look forward to being built. It's because it proves a lot. They basically get their report sent to them after every test, showing them what server's been recovered. And there will be items that need to be remediated. We had actually one customer who, when they ran their backup, no servers were recovered, and they had done it successfully many times before. And what they learned was their backups hadn't run in 7 days successfully. So there was nothing being sent to their object storage, and therefore, they just didn't catch it. And this product caught it, sent them an alert saying, you didn't recover anything. So that was a neat way. They also learned how to reconfigure alerting in their Veeam so that they will get an alert when that happens.
Well, I love the reporting aspect of this actually, because for some customers I know, at least within the Veeam customer base, they fall under compliance and regulatory standards where they have to have proof that they've done testing, whether they're be in healthcare or financial services or whatever it is. And by giving them that report, presumably you're helping them achieve the compliance or regulatory requirements that they need for their industry. Yeah,
absolutely. When that auditor comes in and you're able to show them, your 12 monthly reports that run like clockwork and are all 100% successful, that'll help you pass any audit, with flying colors. And not just that, but RFPs from large customers who put RFPs out to small businesses, they often are now asking, and this has been for the past several years, what is your DR plan? How often do you exercise it? And for them to, say that, hey, I'm part of that 18%er group and I have, the best recovery plan available, that goes a long way with answering an RFP where they're able to see that, you take this seriously.
Yeah, and for customers like Carlos, not only are they getting compliance and proof attestation of that compliance, but they're meeting the requirements of the 32110 rule. They're getting 3 copies of their data on 2 media types, 1 offsite, 1 secured, 0 errors. They can prove all of those things. What's next for you? I love what you've built, by the way. This is incredible because most of our customers don't have this level of simplicity and value. What is next for Cloud Instant Backup Recovery?
Sure. So we're basically right now we've had a 30-day release cycle on production releases, always adding new functionality. Coming in Q1 is going to be IPsec tunnels pre-built that you can connect to any branch office, to your corporate, in addition to the open VPN, end user VPN that we already have. And basically what we're doing is we're taking the feedback of our customers and saying, hey, this is what I'd really like to have, and taking that feedback and incorporating it in. So for instance, secure restore, using the Veeam built-in functionality, that'll be in a future revision. So that if they're hit with ransomware, one of the things we see a lot is a lot of people think with ransomware, my environment is still good, I'll just restore last night's backups. But if you're gonna get engaged with either insurance or law enforcement, you can't just overwrite the ransomware. So you need to have an environment to restore to so that insurance and anyone else can come in, do forensics. And that's where a lot of our customers are using this, not just for their physical environment is fine, but they don't want to overwrite it. So they're able to recover to us, quickly, run there for as long as they need. And anytime a customer wants to run longer than say 30 days, they can reach out to us and get long-term pricing. So month-to-month pricing, annual pricing for the Phoenix Snap Bare Metal Cloud, so that they're not, which is even less expensive than the hourly fees we already covered.
Yeah, it's an important point. We actually have a healthcare facility in the southern United States that was hit by ransomware. Their data center actually became a crime scene. They weren't allowed to recover within the data center. And so people don't think of that. And so with this model of sending your data to Wasabi or Backblaze and then recovering into Phoenix Snap, it allows them to get themselves operationally up and running while the forensics teams can come in and do what they need to do in order to investigate that particular scenario, which they did. And by the way, that investigation at the healthcare facility took about 3 months to complete. You can imagine if they were down for 3 months versus in this case, 27 minutes later, having the services and a few hours to bring it up and running. It's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a lot of very happy customers who've become raving fans of it. Similar to the Veeam, which where you see a lot of Veeam customers are fanatics about the software because of its simplicity. And one of the things I compare this to is you have your sure backup that you can run with Veeam, which is great for your on-premise backups. It stands up all your servers. You can make sure everything's your servers are actually recoverable. And we are basically doing a very similar thing for offsite for your copies that are sent to object storage. You can now basically sure recovery them into our environment, and you're actually seeing them stand up and operate. So that is the IT folk that we speak to, they love it because of its simplicity, and the management and the business folk, they love it because of the price. So it's been a pretty easy sell for the most part. So with that, I brought up some frequently asked questions, and Mike, is there anything you want me to cover in addition to these questions?
Yeah, hey Greg, I appreciate it. Danny, Greg, great. Again, couldn't be more excited about this. Some of the questions that I did see come in, is Azure going to be a supported target for this, like NES3, or what's your plans there?
So we have the technical ability to support Azure and AWS as targets. The reason we currently don't is because the initial target audience for the product are customers who don't know what Azure and AWS is. They're looking for what they're used to. They have bare metal in their office. They're doing their VMware, or we also support Hyper-V, agent-based backups. So anything that Veeam's backing up from on-prem is 100% recoverable, Linux, Windows, and for Azure and AWS, if we do get enough requests over the years, that's definitely something that we'll look into.
Yeah, and look, again, a lot of people and the customers that we're talking to, I'm lucky enough to get to represent the product, and we see it out there all the time, and they always ask about the additional cost, which I think you had hit upon, especially with the bare metal piece. And I know when I talk to customers, I just tell them it's usually under $3 a test. Is that a fair statement? And what are the additional costs, or is there anything else I'm missing?
There's the subscription fee, the monthly subscription fee, which gets billed annually, And then there is the hourly usage fee for the bare metal cloud, and that's as inexpensive as 75 cents an hour for the smallest silver level customer, and about $2.50 or so an hour for the largest silver level. As you get up into the gold and platinum, we see them range in the $10 to $12 maximum range.
All right. So again, pennies on the dollar for what they're getting. And you talked about the recoveries. How long does the Cloud IBR take to perform a recovery in general, Greg, or is it?
So we're seeing I mentioned the throughput numbers earlier, about 80 to 85 megabytes per second, which is about 600 to 700 megabits per second for each stream that's running. So you can have multiple servers being restored concurrently. And I would say that the 2-3 terabyte customers, it's, for everyone, it's 45 minutes to an hour to physically stand up the environment. And then the data restoration period, a couple of terabytes is usually done within, less than an hour. And as you get up to the 20, 50, 100 terabyte, we've seen our largest customer so far at around 12 hours for their recovery.
Got it. Fantastic. So just two more, and I think, we'll jump to wrap it up here. What are the prereqs for becoming recoverable with Cloud IBR? I know you walked through the product, you showed what people have to enter. Is there anything else they need to be looking at or that they have to think about with this product?
Sure, they need to be running Veeam version 10 or higher.
All right.
In V10, that's when they first started supporting sober offloads to offsite to object storage. And then in V12 is when Veeam started offering the direct to object storage. And those two, we've seen a lot of customers, Danny. And how about you over in Veeam? When you look at statistics of companies, since V12 was released this year, are there a lot of companies using the direct to object storage?
They are, and specifically in scenarios where there's remote offices or they have edge model networks, they'll send it directly to object storage. But it's really taken off. Last year, we sent about an exabyte of data into offsite object storage. And this year, it's going to be about 2 exabytes. And a large percentage of that increase is not just tiered data, but also direct to object storage. And 2 exabytes of data is, there's a lot of machines going to that offsite object storage.
Yeah, we found the direct to object storage has been great for the small business who can't afford all of the equipment to build out sobers and capacity and performance tiers, et cetera. So to wrap up that question, Mike, it's V10 or higher, V10 and 11 with sober offload, and V12 with direct to object. And it has to be the enterprise, Veeam Enterprise, which is what supports sobers and direct to object. And you need to have an account with Backblaze or Wasabi to send your data to.
Fantastic. Well, look, again, the one question, we wrote this one down. I always love getting this. Cloud IBR seems too easy. Is this real? Can you prove this? Can you prove this? Do we have a promo code or something where we could get people testing this, Greg?
We do. That's a great lead into it. So yes, it's very real. And the way you can get signed up, we'll bring up the next slide. So the Veeam 30 is the promo code, and what this code will get you is a free Veeam Enterprise V12 30-day license, 30 days free of unlimited usage in the Phoenix App Bare Metal Cloud, and 30 days free of Cloud IBR. So when you go to our site, cloudibr.com, you go to register, just use Veeam 30, all lowercase, in the promo code, and you'll get you'll have the ability to walk through all of your settings, set up your networking, your VPNs, et cetera, and you can run recoveries for the next 30 days at no cost and see how real it is.
Well, look, if that's not a key takeaway, again, we would love for everyone to sign up, get the promo code, get their hands on that. My contact information's there. You have Greg's also. If there is any questions, issues, or concerns, we'd love for you to reach out. We'd love to walk you through. If there's anything more in depth that you need from us, we'd love the opportunity to talk to people. And I think we saw it in the questions and we saw it in the presentation. Easy, affordable, and effective. We've been doing this, and like Greg said, the customers came back, and this doesn't happen too often. I'm going to do a little commercial. I apologize. the customer asks us to be a reference. They're like, we would love to talk to your customers about this. And we've been doing this a long time. It's not too often we get that, but customers are happy, they're enjoying it. All you need, in under a half hour, you can have this up and running. Again, love to see people using it. If there's any way, shape, or form we can help, please reach out. Danny, Greg, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Great. So thanks, Mike. And Danny, thank you very much for joining me today. It's always awesome to spend time with you, virtually or in person. And I look forward to seeing you at Veeam in June.
Yeah, thank you for the partnership. And I love the mission. Go back to the original mission, increase that 18%, right? Let's solve challenges for our customers. So, any way that we can help one another, that's great. But thank you for the partnership.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure. Love working with Veeam.
Great.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
everyone.